We're getting to our Daf, Mesech Yoma Daf. We begin on the top line of the Yomid. We continue explaining the halacha of our Mishnah, which we mentioned those that are Zeichet Tzadik Levracha, those that we want to remember them for the good, that they did certain upgrades in the Beis Hamikdash, which we had mentioned related to the Avodah, they had for the Kiyar, and they had for the how many spouts it had, and the wheels, and they made the candelabra made out of gold, and the handles made out of gold, and so on and so forth. We continue regarding certain individuals that they had upgraded and certain miracles that applied to that. Something we discuss in today's daf are the miracles that occurred with the copper doors of Nicanor, which were those that were by the Azara. Regarding the Chacham that weren't happy with the actions of certain people, that's with the next Mishnah, that because they didn't do the appropriate things. Actually, the Gemara ends up proving that 3 out of the 4 were in fact acting l'shem shamayim, but one of them definitely was not. Regarding a tzaddik and his important role in this world, the importance of trying one's best to improve oneself. Some of the key terms and concepts are zeichet tzadik levracha, when we recall a righteous person that brings blessing. Reason the Kim Hashem Yisrael is the obligation that should be clean in the eyes of God and of other people, that it should be above suspicion. And the tzaddik Yisrael, that the righteous person is the foundation of the world. So begin the current daf, the top line of the daf, where the Mishnah had said Nicanor, regarding people that again had upgraded elements in the Beis Hamikdash, nasu nisim lidal seisa. There were miracles that happened with his doors. So the Gemara explains by bringing a brisa. I'm learn the brisa. Man nisim nasu lidal seisa. What miracles happened to his doors? They said, Kishalach Nicanor lehivi delasas. When Nicanor went to bring doors for the eastern gate of the Hazar, which were made out of copper, Melexandria from Mitzrayim, from Alexandria in Egypt, Chazirasa on his way back with the doors, so a storm in the sea came to swallow him up. Which Teisus Shem says, it's not because he did an Aver by going to Mitzrayim, like the Sifri says, that it's only Loger Sham, only to dwell over there you're not allowed to go, but you're allowed to go for business and for conquering the earth. So that's not why, but for some reason there was a storm that was raging, trying to swallow them up. So they took one of the 2 doors, and they threw it into the sea to lighten the load of the boat. But still the sea was not calming down from its storm. They wanted to take and throw the other door into the sea. So he got up and he wrapped himself, he hugged the door. Amalemi says, then throw me into the sea with the door. So then immediately the storm calmed down. Now he was in pain about the other door that they threw into the sea. Once they reached the port, which is where the boats all come there by the land, they came to the port of Akko. It was bobbing up and down beneath the walls of the boat. It was there underneath the boat. Now, the some say that actually, a sea creature, swallowed up the door, and it spit it up onto dry land. And regarding this, Shlomo said in shiur, the walls of our house are arazim, are cedars. Rohitenu, which means like a door, because the word rohat means to run, which a door is something it runs to open, it runs to close, it's constantly in motion, is bereisim, is the cypresses. Now, but I'll take, because it's talking about types of wood, cedar and cypress, but I'll take bereisim, don't read it cypresses, there's two interpretations. Ella Rashi brings either brisyam, where as if the 2 doors made a covenant between each other that we're never going to separate from each other. So it's brisyam, the covenant of the sea, and that's why the other door was like a magnet hanging by where the other door was. Or some say it's not brisyam but briyasyam, the sea creature. The sea creature that swallowed up, so it's either one of those 2 interpretations, swallowed up the doors, it went and spit it back on dry land. Now the Fikr says, therefore, so ultimately, all the gates that were there in the Beis Hamikdash ended up being changed when they got wealthy. They upgraded Lishos to become gold. Except for the gates of Nicanor, because the miracles that happened with it, they kept it in its original copper doors. That's one interpretation. Those who say, no, the reason is his copper was like a goldy, shiny copper. That's why they kept it. They didn't have to upgrade it. But Yaakov says no. It was a very refined copper, but it's me'ira k'shalzav and it was illuminated like gold. So that was 3 different interpretations why they ended up keeping only those shari nikanei, because of the miracles, or because it was a very goldy type of a copper, or because it shined like gold, and therefore they didn't have to change it. Now, that was the previous Mishnah, which spoke about Zecher Tzadik Levracha, regarding remembering the righteous for the good. However, it says the next Mishnah, Ve'elu Gnai, and these, as the pasuk said, Shemer Shom Yirkov, however they are wicked, we have their names Rat. The following word, disgrace, shall base Garmu, the Garmu family. They didn't want to teach how to make the famous showbreads that were made for the shulchan. And shall base of Tinas, regarding the family of Tinas, they didn't want to teach regarding how to make the kataris. Hugris ben Levi, who is from the family of Levium, he knew how to do a certain sweet voice, a sound. He didn't want to teach how to go ahead and do that niggin, the tnila, when they would make that niggin. He didn't want to teach how to do that. Ben Kamzer, he didn't want to teach how to do a certain act of writing. What he would do is he would have 4 pens in his 4 fingers, and he would be able to write the Shem Havaya at one time, which is obviously a certain beauty, and he didn't want to teach how to do that. So says the Mishnah, we're showing them regarding those in the previous Mishnah, the pasuk says the Mishnah, Zecher Tzadik L'bracha. You call a righteous person for blessing. Regarding these, the pasuk there says, B'Shem Rishon Yirkov, but the name of the wicked will rot. So we explain each one of these individuals in the Gemara. We said, turn over in the Brisa, Beis Garmu, this Garmu family, they were very proficient in making the showbreads, that the 12 breads that they put on the shulchan every single week on Shabbos. But they don't want to teach others. So the sages went, they tried to go around them. They brought the craftsmen from Alexandria of Egypt, which were famous wise men over there. But they know how to bake the same surah, the same form, without breaking. It was a big kunz. It was like a face. It's called lechma upon them. It was like a face. To bake it like them, but the problem is they didn't know how to take it down from the oven, like them. Because if you take it down the wrong way, it's going to crack, it's going to break. Especially since they had used on the walls of the oven. Now, so Shahalalu, those that came from Alexandria, since they didn't know how to take it down from the oven, that it shouldn't break, like I said, because it was made like an open box, they were afraid to attach it from the inside of the oven. So rather what they did was masikin mibachutz, v'oifim mibachutz. They would heat up on the outside, and they would bake it on the outside. They couldn't do it on the inside because of fear of breaking when they took it down. Now, in contrast, they heat up the oven from the inside and bake it on the inside. They knew how to go ahead and take it down without cracking it. Now, so therefore, halalu pita misapeshes. So since it wasn't heated up in a normal way, the Alexandrians, their bread would become moldy. Now, the Tosfos Yeshanim says, even though we know that the bread was warm as it was taken down as the day it was put on, so how to become moldy? But still, what's possible for human intervention, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't fix. So since it's possible to do like Beis Garmu and heat up on the inside, and then it would not get moldy, so even though it was still hot, it was still able to get moldy. But the family of Garmu, their bread did not get moldy. Now, when the sages heard about this discrepancy, they said, whatever God created, He created for His honor. Like says the pasuk in Yeshaya, God says, whatever is called in my name, and for my honor I created. So either the Gerson or Yavzuru, they said, Yavzuru based Garmu, come on, let's bring the Garmu family back to their place. Because ultimately it's not coming out as nice as it would be. It's getting moldy. So Shochlem Chacham Lebo, so the sages called them, they didn't come. Kaflim Scharam, but they doubled their wages from the Trumas Alishka, Uvo, and they came. As the Gemara says, B'chol Yom, every single day up until this point, they used to take 12 months. Now they doubled their price to 24, and then they came back to do their job. Yudam, he says, no, every day was 24 months. And now they were paying them 48 months. Now, the sages said to them, why do you see fit not to teach this? Why are you guys holding on to the secrets to yourselves? So they said to them like this, our father's family knew, we know that this house is ultimately going to be destroyed. We know it's not going to stay around forever. Maybe an unworthy person is going to learn how to do this, and he's going to use it for idolatry, for idol worship, and therefore it's not appropriate. We don't want to share the secret because we don't want this ever to come into the hands of Avodah. Now, and therefore, however, says the Gemara, but regarding the following entity, they were remembered favorably. It would never happen that their children would ever have refined bread, that no one should ever say that, oh, of course, your father comes back with packages from the Beis Hamikdash, but he takes some home in his pockets to give to the kids, that no one should say that from the breads and lechem abundant that the kids are getting fed. But Kaim Hashanema says, what it says the Pasuk in Midbar, the Yisn Nikim Hashem Yisrael, although obviously they could afford to have refined bread, they never eat it, and no one should ever say they're taking and siphoning off from the lechem abundant that they're making in the Beis Hamikdash. That was regarding the Beis Gamu. Now the Mishnah said, Shal Beis Avtinas, the household of Avtinas, they were remembered unfavorably because they didn't want to teach regarding how to make the Getaris. So someone when the Brisa elaborates on this, Beis Avtinas, this Avtinas family, who became the Ma'aseh Getaris, they were very proficient in how to make the Getaris, the incense, but they don't want to teach others. Again, they tried to get around them. They went to the craftsmen of Alexandria of Egypt. Now, they knew how to go ahead and compound, which means to be able to grind the herbs and to mix it together, like it says mamulach. They didn't know how to have the smoke go up like them, which Rashi says they didn't recognize the herb, which we just said before in Ketayras, that there's something called mala ashan, which know how to make the smoke go up and go up straight like a rod. Now, the Taisi Yeshanim, he says, it can't be. He says that there was a certain herb that made it go straight up without dissipating on the sides, rather go up straight like a rod. That no one else knew but this family. But there's another herb that's called Mala Ashan that the men of Alexandria obviously knew about, because if you're missing one of the elements of Keteris, you chayiv misa. Can't be that they didn't have Mala Ashan and the only problem was, like the Gemara is saying, that the house of Avtinas, that theirs would go straight up like a rod, and now here it would dissipate on the side, because that's not the reason why it wouldn't be good. You're missing one of the Keteris if you don't have Mala Ashan. Mala Ashan is one of the 11 herbs that you need to have. Rather, there's more than one Mala Ashan according to Yisrael. They had the Mala Ashan, but there was an inferior Mala Ashan. It didn't have the one that goes straight up. So when the sages heard about this, they says, okay, look, whatever God created, He made for His honor. Like says the pasuk in Mishlei, whatever God made, He made for Himself. Now, as you can see, obviously, there's the pasuk here is not the same pasuk they brought before. Why a different pasuk? So it says it He says here they didn't bring the pasuk because it's not so disgraceful if it dissipates. It's only an extra beauty. That's why you have to bring the pasuk kol pal Hashem l'manei. It's not l'chvoid deparasa. It's not a disgrace. Not a bizoyin. If the breads are breaking, it's getting moldy like it was by regarding the lechem upon them. That you need that pasuk. But here's kol pal Hashem l'manei. And interesting that Rabbi Chanan brings interpretation of this pasuk, as we're going to shortly see. That what does it mean kol pal Hashem l'manei? Paul Hashem went and activated, and He gave wisdom to this person more than this other person, l'manehu, so that the malacha should only be who He chooses. Call Paul Hashem l'manehu and say every person has a certain Hashem was playing this l'manehu. For them, He wants to make it exactly that this person should know how to sing, the person should know how to bake, the person should know how to clean, whatever it is, and it's specifically them. And it says, okay, we can't get away from this. This has to be Yachzor Beis Avtinas L'Mekayim. Hashem wants the Avtinas family. They're the ones that Hashem chose because you know this wisdom, you know this craft. So let them come back. But then again, remember they were ousted for some time. They went to Alexandrians, and then come back. But they doubled the wages, and then they came back. As the Gemara says, on every single day, they would take 12 mana. Today they took 24. Yehuda says no. Every single day was 24 mana. And now they were taking 48. The sages said to them, why do you see fit? You're not teaching. Why can't people know how to make the curse? You have to be the only ones. They said, no, don't think it's because we want to hold on to have a monopoly over here. It's our father's family knew this house is going to ultimately be destroyed. They said, maybe someone inappropriate is going to learn how to make this keteris. And he's going to worship an idolatry with such a beautiful thing, and it's going to be such a bazillion, such a chilashem. Now, however, says the Gemara, although again we recall them lignai. What?
Wasn't this a good enough reason? This wasn't an accepted reason, was it?
Oh, right. So it sounds like that it was they did accept him on some level, like it was an excuse, but it's still, why is the Mishnah say l'genai? Well, only question was that
more money.
What?
See, they took more money.
They took more money, right? But I'm saying, but why did they not want to teach? They didn't want to teach because it's going to get out. So why we're remembering them l'genai? Unless that was before they said excuse.
Maybe they pulled back from that. Maybe it was l'genai.
What was l'genai?
No, I'm saying maybe at the end.
Right, maybe they pulled away from that. Yeah, but the Mishnah says l'genai, right? It could be that was before the excuse. Yeah, or maybe it's still not so. Meaning sometimes to do a tenets. A tenets might not as miyashiv the kashi. That was a tenets, Now, but however, but regarding this, we recall them favorably. Imagine that. Look how far a person's going to go. They never had a daughter-in-law that had perfume in their household because of the fact, meaning their own family, the daughter, the kala, never had perfume. And when they marry a woman from another place, they would stipulate with that new daughter-in-law that she shouldn't put on perfume. That no one should say, oh, of course that family, they take from the my secretaries. It says in the pasuk, so you should be clean in the eyes of God and from the Jewish people. Just that you should be above suspicion, not to think that you went ahead and took from the Gitaris. Now, Tanya learned the Raisa, the Rabbi Shloimy, he says, one time I was going on the road, I found one of the grandchildren from this family. I said to him, you see, again, it sounds like they didn't take this tenets. Your fathers, they attempted to increase their honor. They want to be a monopoly. We're the only family. We do this. They wanted to diminish the honor of Hashem. Because you see, they didn't care unless the price got doubled. They weren't coming back. Let Hashem lose out. Now, covered the honor of Hashem is in its place. Hashem never loses his glory. And now their honor has been diminished because the basic English says charb, and now they don't have any more stellar anymore. Now, additionally, Omer Kivi says, he told me that he says, me, this Rabbi Shmuel ben Loiga told Rabbi Kiva, it says, I once went out with one of the grandchildren of that family to go to the fields to pick herbs. And I saw him, the gear says, he cried and he laughed. So I said to him, why do you cry? Somebody said to me, he says, I remember the glory of our family. We were the ones that everyone had to come on to. We were the whole avodah, the great ketayers. Says, and we don't have that anymore. So he's crying. So why do you laugh? He said to me, because God is ultimately going to return it to us. So says, but what made you think about this? Why are you crying and laughing? Because you're remembering about this. So he says, Mala Asham says that this herb that was what brought the smoke to go straight up, I saw it connected, I saw it opposite me, it's here in this field. So he said to him, Herele, show it to me, I want to see what's this Mala Asham. He said to me, Shvuhi b'yadenu, it's an oath in our hands. We don't show it to any person. I'm sorry, I can't show you which one is the Mala Asham, it's a family secret. Another story, Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg says, Pamachas mitzas zakenechem. Says one time I encountered an elderly person, he had a scroll that on it was written all the ingredients that were necessary for the Gitaris. I said to him, where are you from? He says, I'm from the famous Avtina's family. They used to make the Gitaris. What's in your hand? He said to me, I have a scroll of all the different herbs, all the ingredients, the Coca-Cola secret. I got it right here in my hands, how to make the Lahabli Gitaris. He says, hey, show it to me. He says, you know what? And as long as my father's household were around and they were modest, they didn't give it over to anyone, no one got the secrets. Now it's yours, be careful in it because you're right, we're not worthy anymore to have the secret. Now, when I came and I said this over in front of Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Kiva said, now it's already forbidden to speak about the disgrace of these people, so it sounds like that it was backed out, that this, unlike the Mishnah, although the Mishnah says Gnai, it seems like later on that they said, you now talk about the disgrace of these people, because ultimately the kavanah was l'shem shemayim. You see, when the time came, and that they did give it over. They just didn't want it to be given over into the wrong hands. Mikanam ben Azai says, from the story of Beis Garmu and from Beis Avtinas, where the Chachamim wanted to push them away from their place. So you don't want to give them, we're going to Alexandria, we're taking the Egyptians. And they weren't able to. You see the following a very important lesson. V'shimcha yikruucha, in your name they will call you. Uv'mkaimcha yeshivucha, and in your place they will place you. Which means to say, a person does not have to be afraid that, oh, that guy's stealing my parnasa. Because by hook or by crook, in your name they will call you, and they're going to come to put you in your place where you belong. Because no matter what it is, they tried to come away with the base kamu, together with base of tinas, it didn't help. As like we said for Ben Chanal, you have a gift, they will come to you. Don't get so nervous, don't get scared away. Like you see, they couldn't get away with them. As we continue to base, not only that, they're from yours they're going to give to you. In other words, it's not like from them they're giving you a gift. A person's mezainis are k'tumalei min hashamayim. You're going to get what you're going to get. Don't fret. Don't be afraid. As even more, in odem negeh b'muchen l'chavei, a person does not touch what's prepared for his friend. If it's his, it's his. If it's not, it's not. No one can take yours. You don't have a kingdom, a sovereignty that will touch the royalty of the other one. Meaning when it's time for the malucha to fall and the other one to stand up, it will not be delayed. Not even like a hair's breadth. Meaning, if his time is to fall at nighttime, it's going to fall at nighttime, like it says in Daniel. That night, Balshetza was killed. And if his time is during the daytime, it's going to be during the daytime. It's like a Basi and Cheskel. So what's going to be is going to be. And if a person's meant to have it, he's going to have it, and no one can take it away from him. Now, the Mishnah continued regarding the individuals who were, we recall Lignai, was Hugris ben Levi v'chulu, that he knew how to sing make a certain niggin, and he didn't want to teach it, so we remember him Lignai. So, Tanya Luna Braisa, what exactly was this sweet voice that he would make? When he would make his voice sweet, he would be machnis gedol l'teich. He would put his thumb into his mouth, and he put his finger between the hairs that by his nose, by the fontanelle, looks like by his mustache. Until his fellow kahanim, they would jump back from the great voice he would make, the sound, whatever he would make, some sweet tune, and they would jump back from that voice, which Teshon here also brings that into the Sefta to explain that they also asked him, Mari, so why don't you want to teach this nigga? And he says, oh, because my father's family also said that one day this house is going to be destroyed, and I don't want anyone to use such a beautiful niggin in the base of a desire, and if I didn't want to teach it. In contrast, the last one, talking about in the Braisa, Ben Kamsa, with someone that says Kamsa Ben Kamsa, this is the Ben Kamsa, he's the only one that doesn't have an excuse. He didn't want to teach regarding how to write what's this writing he didn't want to teach. They said regarding him, he went and he took 4 quills, 4 pens between his fingers, where you have those 4 gaps, and if he had a word of 4 letters to write God's name, he would write it in one shot. So they said to Marisa Shleilaman, what do you see not to teach this? So the Gemara says, you're right. All the previous 3, Beis Avtinas, Beis Gamu, and Hugris ben Levi, they all had a response because they don't want David Zer to do it. Ben Kamsa did not find a response for what he did because, as Teshon explains, by David Zer they don't have this honor of writing. No, regarding ketayres, regarding baking, regarding singing, that they have. But writing, they don't have such an avodah, and therefore there's no such excuse. Why didn't you want to teach anyone how to do it? So Al Rishayim them, regarding the earlier ones, we say Zechat Tzadik Levracha. You recall the righteous as a blessing. But Ben Kamsa, regarding Ben Kamsa, he was the one that didn't have an excuse, and his colleagues, we say the pasuk B'Shem Risham Yirkav, and the name of the wicked will rot. It says, "My B'Shem Risham Yirkav." What does this mean that the name of the wicked will rot? So Amar Rebbe Lazi says, "Kvivis," literally, like when you have rust, when it rots, an iron vessel that you don't use, it rusts. That's what Talabish Mason, that should happen to their names. That's literally B'Shem Risham Yirkav. What does it mean? We don't use their names. You don't call your son after a wicked person. That's literally going to rot, because of disuse. The Gemara says, is that really so? You can't use the name of a wicked person? But Master Ravina asks that Ma'aseh b'Doeg ben Yosef, the story with Doeg, the son of Yosef. Shenichi Avav ben Kotlim, his father had left him as a little boy with his mother, this Doeg, the son of Yosef. Every single day, his mother would measure him to know how much, by his tfachim, by handbreadth, how much he grew from day to day. She gave his weight in gold every day, however the measurement was of that additional, how much he grew, she gave that weight in gold to the Beis HaMikdash. We see it, the great tzidkis, that the gold donating and whatever was the measurement that he grew on the wall, you see how much more gold they're giving. When the enemy overtook Yerushalayim, the mother slaughtered him and ate him. Because again of the depravity, meaning she was so wealthy, obviously she donated gold amount that he grew. I remember I think we had when we were kids the golden shoes, maybe bronze, but it looked goldish, they take the kids' shoes. Here she gave that to the Beis HaMikdash, gold, obviously very, very wealthy, but when the enemy conquered, they had no money, she slaughtered him and she ate him. That's how depraved it became. And on her, Yomiyah lamented, as it says in Eicha, if the women are going to eat their fruit, meaning their children, the children of their care, which tefuchim can be read as tefach, of every tefach he grew, she gave him gold, and look, she ate this child. So Mashiach Ruach HaKodesh Remer, so the divine spirit responded and said, as it says at the end of the pasuk here in Eicha, if it's going to be killed in the Beis HaMikdash of Hashem, a prophet and a priest, because it was punishment for Zechariah ben Yehoyada HaKohen, who they killed him over there in the Mikdash, and that's why they got punished. But one thing says the Gemara, you see that they used his name was Doeg ben Yosef. With this Doeg HaDaimi was a famous wicked person, and still you see they called the child after Doeg. I thought you're not supposed to B'Shem Rishon Yirk, you're not supposed to use the name of a wicked person. So that says the Gemara, Chazi Ma'isalik. Look what happened to him. He was slaughtered in the Chanami. They did obviously something wrong, and you see the punishment that happened because of that. Now, another interpretation in this pasuk, Amr Balazim, meaning of Zecher Tzadik Levracha and Shem Rishon Yirkov, he said Tzadik, a righteous person, is me'atzmai, meaning it's through his own actions we remember him for the good. For Russian, a wicked person, is mechaveroi, is even through his friends we remember him for the bad. As the Gemara explains, Tzadik me'atzmai, a righteous person, is on his own merit. Remember a righteous person for a blessing. That's the tzaddik himself. For Rosh Mechaber, the wicked person, we remember him for bad even from his friends, because the Sefer says in the pasuk, V'shem Rishoim Yirkav. It doesn't say V'shem Rasha. V'shem Rishoim, the bad chevra, that you remember him even based on his bad friends. Now, related discussion, the Gemara says, Amali Ravina Lahum Rabbana. Ravina said to one of the rabbis, that we used to organize the Agadah to Gemara, the homiletic teachings in front of him. He says, from where do you know this idea that the rabbis say, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, that you remember a righteous person for a blessing? Some lay says, what do you mean? It's a pasuk in Mishlei. It's Zecher Tzadik. It's not the rabbis, it's not a Gemara, it's a pasuk. Pasuk says, remember a righteous person for a blessing. So he says, no, what I meant to say was Midiraisa B'Noam. Where do we know it from the Torah? Because the Tzeitzah Shem brings, we know there's nothing that's not alluded to in the Torah. Everything that you could find in the Torah. So where's this concept that's brought only in Mishlei, in Ksuvim? How do you know it from the Torah? So it says, I'll tell you, the Chassid says the pasuk in Bereishis. It says, Hashem said, am I going to conceal from Avram Avinu I said that I'm going to do with Sodom? Now, once he mentioned Avram Avinu's name, he then blessed him. Like it says, right after that, Ksiv, Avram, God was going to lead to a great and powerful nation. Well, how did that come in? Because Zecher Tzaddik, once you mention that Tzaddik is Lavracha, then you go and you bless him. Well, he just happened to have mentioned him because he was saying, how could I consider him? And he blessed him. So he continued asking, he says, from where do you know this thing that the rabbis say? Shem Rishon Yirkav, the name of the wicked, that it will rot. Well, he says, what do you mean? Again, it says in the pasuk, Shem Rishon Yirkav, the name of the wicked will rot. He says, no, I want to know in the Torah, where is it? Oh, it says the Chsib. It says over there, later on in that narrative, it says, Vayel at Sadoim, that Light, actually it's earlier, when Light, he went to Stoim, that's where his tents went till, and it says, right after that, oh, the people of Stoim, they were very wicked and evil to Hashem very much. Where did that come in? It was just talking about that Light, his tents went up until Stoim. Yeah, but once we mention Sadoim, we say, V'shem Rishon Yirkov, we talk about how wicked they are. Continuing a related discussion, Amr Balaz says, Tzadik dar bin shnei Rishon. You could have a righteous person that dwells amongst two wicked people, and didn't learn from their actions. And Rasha dar bin shnei tzadikim, you have a wicked person who lived amongst two righteous people, and did not learn from them, as the Gemara explains. Who's Tzadik dar bin shnei Rishon? Who's a righteous person that was dwelling amongst two wicked persons and didn't learn from them? That's Evadia. who Avadia dwelled between the wicked king Achav and his wife Izebel, who were two wicked people. And Avadia was there, and he remained a righteous person. You have Rasha Darbech Ned Tzadikim, you have a wicked person who lived amongst two righteous people. But like said, did not learn from them. Zeh Isa, that refers to Isa, who he had two righteous parents, Yitzchak and Rivka, and didn't learn from them. Another teaching from Ba'amr Balazu, he says, from the blessing of the righteous, you learn a curse for the wicked. In other words, in a place where Hashem blesses the righteous, that's where he curses the wicked. And the Mikulasim Shalasham, and from when he's cursing the wicked, you learn blessing for the righteous, as the Gemara explains. From the blessing of the righteous, you learn a curse to the wicked. It's like it says in the pasuk, Hashem says, Ki yadati, because I know him, referring to Avram Avinu, that he's going to command his household and follow in my ways. So he's blessing Avram Avinu, except let's say after that. Hashem said, Zaka, Sedayim, Amar, Kiraba, all the scream of Sedayim and Amar, it's very much. So because he was blessing Avram, he then went and cursed the wicked. So to Mikulasan Shorasham, from the cursing of the wicked, after Lamed Brochel Tzadikim, you learn the blessing for the righteous. It's like it says in the pasuk, Anshe Sedayim Ramach Atam LaHashem, and the people of Sedayim are very wicked to Hashem. So he's cursing Sedayim. Hashem Amar El Avram Achi apart late Mimay, and Hashem spoke to Avram after late left from him, etc. Which the pasuk that continues, and he's giving now blessings to Avram Avinu, because once he's cursing the wicked, from that same place is where he goes and he blesses the righteous. Another teaching from Rabbi Lazi says, "Afil b'shul tzadik echad." Even because of one righteous person, olam nivra, the world is created for even just one righteous person. Not like it says the pasuk in the beginning of the Torah, "Vayar lekim es architect." So simple translation is God saw the light, that it was good. He made light, but the ein taiv el tzadik. But actually, when it says ki taiv, that means because there was a righteous person. Because taiv means a righteous person, like it says the pasuk in Yeshaya. Imru tzadik, say the righteous ki taiv, because he's good. So you see, a tzaddik is called taiv. So this is what the pasuk means, vayar sa'ar, that he saw God in his wisdom to maintain the light of the world, ki taiv, because of the righteous person that's considered taiv. That's why he kept the light on. Another thing from Belazar, he says, whoever forgets something from his learning, he causes exile for his children. So it says the pasuk in Hosea, you forgot the Torah of your God. I'm also going to forget your children, meaning they're going to be, so to speak, forgotten in Galus. He says actually, they demote him from his greatness, from his leadership. Like it says in the pasuk in Isaiah, because you hadas ma'aster, you were disgusted with the wisdom. I'm going to be disgusted from you serving me, which is you're going to lose. A person gets demoted from their greatness if they forget their learning. Continuing on the theme about the righteous people, how it's worthy for the whole world for one righteous person. So Amr B'chibra Abba B'yechna, we bring a few teachings from him now. Ein tzaddik nifnem ha'olam, a righteous person does not leave from this world until another righteous person is created like him. Like says the pasuk in Koheles, V'zarach Hashemesh, that the sun shines, Uva Hashemesh, and the sun sets, which means to say, Ad shlei kavser shimsha shel Eli, until the sun of Eli was not extinguished, Zarcha shimsha shel Shmuel Haramasi, the sun of Shmuel Haramasi was already shining. So that's when the sun sets and the sun rises, one goes down, the other one is coming up. Which it's already Bizarre Hashemesh first, and then the Ba Hashemesh. That's the main point that we're darshing. First is one shining, and then the other one sets. Another teaching, this is God saw that there's very few righteous people in the world. So he went and he spread them out, sprinkled them throughout all the generations. Like it says the pasuk in Shmuel Aleph, because for Hashem are the pillars of the land. But Yashas Aleim Teva, and on them he set the world. What it means to say is that he spread them out throughout the generations so that there should be a foundation and a kiyum and the aside to maintain the world. That's what Yashas is, that he went and that it should be the foundation for the world, these pillars which are the righteous people. Another teaching, says, even because of one righteous person, the world is maintained. Like says the pasuk, but tzaddik and the righteous person, Yisrael is the foundation of the world. We know some great chassidish shasvar, it's all gebayt on the tzaddik. It's all Yisrael. The world is maintained just for the tzaddik. He brings the pasuk in Shmuel Aleph. Raglei chasidav. Now the word raglei could be translated because, like it says the pasuk in Bereshis, by Yivarach Hashem Oischel Raglei is because of me. So because of his chasidav, Yishmar, he safeguards the world. So you see, because of the chassid, because of the tzaddik, therefore he's Yishmar, he protects the world. But the Gemara says, wait a second, chassid of tu mashma. How are you saying it's because of one tzaddik the world's maintained? It's actually says chassidav, which is plural. It says Gemara, this is what chassidah sit. But you're right, there are many chassidah, but it says it's written in the singular, although we pronounce it chassidah, and therefore it's referring to even for one tzaddik the world would be maintained. Another teacher, remember he says, Kiven sheyatsu reiv shneisel shel adam loichatam. Once the majority of a person's years pass and he doesn't sin, he's not going to sin anymore. Shnema, like it says in the pasuk, and here we translate ragle as the end. The regal is considered as the end of something. Ragle chasid of Yishmar, the end of the life of the chassid, Hashem will protect. Which the Taish trying to ask, he says, what do you mean? We know famously Yechna Kohen Gadol, as the Gemara says in Brachas Chav Tesem Al, he was a Kohen Gadol for 80 years and the end he became a Tzeduki. So says Taish says, you're right. But definitely, if someone wants to do something wrong, they don't close the door totally for the person. But there's a lot of assistance and a lot of turning the person without even much effort to become pure and to become holy. So it is Ragli Chasid of Yishma, but again, if a person wants to, he's not done until the day that he dies, he could become a Tzeduki. Another interpretation of that pasuk, the Rabbi Shloimy, where they say, once a sin comes to a person, the opportunity to do an avera, the one time, the second time, and he doesn't sin, which is still an important lesson. A lot of people have urges and they feel like they need to act in it. Don't worry, if you ride the wave, you hold back once and twice, he's not going to sin anymore. And again, like we said, it doesn't mean you're not going to, but it's the same similar idea. Somebody says a pasuk, Ragli Chasid of Yishmar. So here we interpret it a third way. When a person acts with kindness 2 times, the word regal could also mean pam. At 2 times, like we find Shalosh Regalim, it's 3 times. So Yishmar is going to protect him from a chet. So we have 3 interpretations of what Ragli is. Either Ragli means because, or means at the end, or means times. So Ragli Chasidav, if you act with chesed 2 times, so that's Yishmar, then the person will be protected from ever sinning with that sin. Related discussion regarding this idea about a person, about coming to sin. Shama Shlakish is mad. So it doesn't say in pasuk initially, "Im leitzim hu yalet." If he's coming to scoff, he could come to scoff. But another meet mechein. But for the humble ones, he gives grace. So it says the Gemara, a famous teaching. Bala tamei. If a person is coming to make himself impure, meaning to be a wicked person, so they open up the ability for the person to become tamei. In other words, they give him the opportunity. They don't stop him from shemayim. So that's what the pasuk means when it says "Im leitzim hu yalet," meaning if he wants to join the guys who's sitting in the corner, the guys who are just making a mockery about the whole world, "Im leitzim hu yalet," so he could go ahead and no one's going to stop him, but no one's going to help him. But Bolatar, if someone's coming to make himself pure, they assist him. That's what the pasuk means, Imla Novim. If he's coming to go and join the humble people, the people that are authentic and real people, then Yitain Chen, they're going to give him favor, they're going to give him grace. Who has that opportunity to give? It's Hashem. They're going to help him. So it's not the same standard. For bad, you could do it, no one's going to help you, no one's going to stop you. But for the good, then you actually get heavenly assistance. As the Gemara brings tons of Rabbi Shmuel, it was taught in the Bryce Tzibri of Bishmal, Mashal Adam, you could compare this to a person, a person that sold neft, which is a smelly and unpleasant aroma, and a balsam, which has a very pleasant aroma, as the Gemara continues to talk about the Testament out. So when the consumer comes, limdei neft, to measure out neft, now because it has a bad smell, so anyway, the seller tells him, you measure it out yourself. So that's what we're saying. If somebody's coming to do an Avera, I'm not stopping you. You could buy this item, but I'm not helping you. I don't want to get this smelly thing on myself. But when someone's coming to the store and he wants to measure out Afarsiman, Malay says, wait till I measure out with you. You both could have this good smell. And that's the same idea that when someone's coming to do Latar, Hashem says, no, I'll help you along from the Shemai Messiah, because, so to speak, it gives a good aroma to both the seller and to the buyer. Now, continue on this theme regarding doing an Avera and moving in that direction or going to the side of good. So, Tan B'Rishmal, again, it was taught in the Bryce B'Rishmal, Avera, a sin, mitam temes liber shel adam, famous concept, an Avera clogs up the heart of a person. Meaning, like Rashi says, it clogs him up from all wisdom. Somebody says a pasuk in the Yikra, it says there in the beginning, it says, Al Tashak says, Nafshesechem, with all Sharatzim, and it says, V'li Titamu B'hem, and don't become impure with them, V'nitamtim B'hem. Now, as the Gemara explains, Al Tikri V'nitmesem, the pasuk is really V'nitmesem, but it says it without an aleph. So you don't read a V'nitmesem that you will become Tameh, Ela V'nitamtem, rather that you will get clogged up. If you do a sin, it clogs up, as you say, a person, even kids, they say, even though you don't have to stop them doing affairs, it's brought in this farm, don't let them eat something not kosher because it's metamtem libashal adam, and they won't be able to get the wisdom of the Torah. Talking about we learned in the Brisa, it says in the pasuk tamubam, which we just brought, don't make yourself impure with them. Again, it seems redundant because it's saying, and you'll become tamei. Obviously, it says don't become tamei because then you become tamei. So the Gemara explains, what it means to say is adam tamei atzma ma'ad. What happens is, yes, it's not redundant because a person makes himself tamei a little bit, metamei noisa harba. So then they go and they make him tamei a lot. What that really means to say is, I thought they don't push him is, no, they let him become tamei a lot. So the pasuk is saying, al tatamu behem. Don't become tamei with them because if you're going to, at the end it's going to be with the tmesim, you're going to become tamei a lot. Milmata, if someone becomes tummy down here, the tamnus milmala, they make him impure on above. But if you become tummy in this world, the tamnus above, they make him impure in the world to come. So therefore, that's the redundancy to say that you do a little bit, you're going to get more. And however, the same is true in the opposite. In the Brisa, there in the next pasuk it says, "V'hiskadishtem," you should make yourself holy. V'yisim kadishtem, you'll be holy. But that also seems redundant. So the Gemara, no other mekadosh asma, the person makes himself holy a little bit. They make him very much holy, like we said about the time of Sinai, which many people have seen Yeshua's that way. You just try a little bit, you make yourself a little bit holy, take a little bit Shmir Sinayim, and just on Shabbos Kodesh or whatever, take a time that make yourself a little bit holy. They make him very holy. Mamati make yourself holy down here. Mekatna is Mamal, they make him holy up above. But you make yourself holy in this world. Mekatna is Mamal, they make him holy in the world to come. We shall return to the third paragraph, says Yoma Parak Amel Amuna, which spoke about the beginning of the Avodah of the Kohen Gadol on Yom HaKippur. Something to discuss in today's Daf. In Yoma Daf Lamed Ches, we explained the Mishnah that said that by Nicanor there were miracles that happened to his doors, and we brought the source that Hitenu, our doors were beresim, were cypresses, but the word beresim can be read as either bris of the Yam, the covenant of the sea, or Brias Yam, the creature of the sea, which that was the miracle that happened to the door. So that's why it's one of the three interpretations why he didn't change his doors like all the other gates to become gold, either because of the miracle, or because it actually was very goldy copper, or because there was this Necheshes Kladisa which illuminated like that of gold. Then we went to the next Mishnah, but we said these are actually, we remember them for disgrace. The base Garmu, they didn't want to teach regarding the lechem upon him, which although they brought the craftsmen from Alexandria, but they only heat up on the outside, therefore the bread got moldy. And Beis Avtinas, who they didn't want to teach regarding the Ma'aseh Keteris, which although the Alexandrians knew how to make the Keteris with all the ingredients, but they didn't know the Mala Oshan to make it go straight up. Hugas ben Levi, who he knew a certain niggin, a certain tune, and they didn't want to teach how to make that beautiful sound. And all those three, however, excused themselves at the end of the day, and they said they didn't want to come down by the Zar. Ben Kamsa was the only one that didn't have an excuse, where he had the Ma'aseh Sav, he was able to take 4 pens at the same time with his 4 fingers and write a 4-letter word. And therefore, regarding him, the pasuk says, Shemer Shom Yirkav, that there should be rotting. What does that mean their name should be rotten? Literally, should rot from like rust. No one's going to use their name. We saw someone called their child Doig. Look what happened to him. That Tavafta V'chalta, that the mother slaughtered him and ate him. We say that Mishalcha Yidlacha, don't worry about, no one's going to touch what's coming to you. No one's stealing your panasa, no one's taking away your covet, no one's taking away anything. Beis Gamu, Beis Avtins, they tried to oust them. And even you're going to get what you're going to get, like we see by these families. We said that Tzaddik is from his own, that says Tzaddik Levracha. I mean, that Torah, we know this about Avraham Avinu, said Tzaddik Levracha, that once we mentioned Avraham Avinu, parenthetically, we then went, Hashem blessed him. And Rasha is even from his friends, we remember him, because it says in the plural, Shem Rishom Yirka. And that Torah, we know by Sadaim, that once we mentioned them parenthetically, Sadaim, we started talking about how wicked they are. Avadia was one tzaddik amongst 2 Risham of Achlan and Izabel. Esav was one Rasha amongst 2 tzaddikim of his parents, Yitzchak and Rivka. We said from the blessings of its righteous, when we're blessing the righteous, then the curse comes to the wicked by Avraham and Avinu. There's only mentioned Sodom. And the opposite is true also, that when we were cursing Sodom, Hashem then went and mentioned blessing to Avraham and Avinu. So the world is created even for one righteous person, like it says by Alakim, it says, Ki Toiv, meaning Hashem keeps the light on, so to speak, like Motel 6, he keeps the light on in the world, because Ki Toiv, because there's a righteous person who's called Toiv. If someone forgets his learning, it causes gullus to his children and the motive from his greatness. Said a tzaddik is not nifter until there's another tzaddik coming. B'zarach Hashem first, and then the Bar Shemesh. We said there's very few righteous people. Therefore Hashem sprinkled them throughout the generations. The world is maintained even because of one tzaddik, like we find the pasuk at tzaddik Yisrael Olam. Additionally, the pasuk of Raglei Chasida Yishma, which the word Raglei can mean because of the Chassid. Although it's pronounced in the plural, it's written in the singular because of one Chassid. Hashem protects the world. Two other interpretations, Raglei Chasida Yishma, which actually the word Raglei is interpreted differently, is that Raglei means the end. That the end of a person's life, if he didn't sin, he's not going to sin anymore. Yishma, Hashem is going to protect him. And the third interpretation is Raglei is like times. Raglei Chassid, if a person does chesed 2 times and he doesn't sin, Yishma, then he's not going to sin anymore with that sin. In Maleitzim Yolit, we said that if a person wants to, they let him go ahead and be from those mockers, the cynics of the world. But another meaning, if a person is a humble person, then Hashem actually is Messiah, like so they actually assist him like a marshal of a person who's selling neft or farsim, and neft can't zechalayin. I'm not going to stop you, I'm not helping you. Farsim, and come, let's do it together. Aveira is metamtemes libishalad, clogs up a person's heart. He's not going to be able to understand the wisdom of the Torah. Stop doing your aveiras, you'll see, you'll find the beauty in the Torah. So if a person metam himself a little bit down here in the oil mazeh, the metam himself a lot, and in the world to come. We said the same idea. Be mekadosh atzim ma'at. The mekadosh is harba. The mekadosh is mamala. Mekadosh is rabba. Hanulach amla mamuna. Chag sameach. Steig away all night long. I can tell you that.
About the mother ocean.